Thanks very much, guys. I have to deal with my glasses here. Where are we? Cleaning up after the floods. I think a lot of you, thanks very much, by the way, Marcel. You may recall back in 2011 there was a fair bit of water that fell out of the sky. A lot of it travelled down rivers and made their way down through agricultural growing areas of New South Wales and Queensland on the border there, and caused a bit of an issue. And we were fortunate enough, I guess, to be a part of the clean-up process. So how we got into that, where is my little ticker here? Some of you may have already heard of Re.Group itself. We're obviously an Australian company that hates waste being disposed to landfill, believe our resource recovery is a critical requirement for the modern society. Our business is 100% focused on providing high quality infrastructure and services for recycling and resource recovery. Recovering agricultural plastics, it really sort of falls into the category of what we do. Our core focus, of course, is the landfill diversion. Our platform involves all of our domestic waste, whether it be a yellow lid, red lid, green lid. We've got 3 business divisions under Recycle, obviously for the yellow, for Regrow, for our compost facilities, and Recover for our alternate waste treatments. So we cover a pretty large area, as you'll probably see from this. We've got a number of operations that currently are functioning. We operate the Townsville MRF, processing 15 to 20,000 tonnes of commingled recyclables a year. The Mackay MRF, mobile baling, which I'll discuss a little bit more as we move through this. We have a sister company, GRL, which is Global Renewables. They operate the Eastern Creek facility in Sydney, processing 220,000 tonnes of general waste and diverting that from landfill. We'd recently just commissioned the Shell Harbour facility, which is a FOGO facility down south of Sydney. We have the Canberra MRF, which is our largest commingled recyclable facility, where we process up to now, I think it says 60 up there. Yeah, but now with some additional councils bringing in product, we're processing around 80,000 tonnes a year there. And very recently been appointed the network operators for the CDS program in the ACT that kicks off on the 30th of June, which a few of you would be aware of. So Re.Group as a whole, we divert over 300,000 tonnes of waste or resources away from landfill, and we've got a couple of offices, one in Sydney and one in Brisbane. Why did we choose mobile baling? Well, I'll get into it in a little bit more detail. Re.Group was founded with a vision to provide benefits to people and the planet, not just to make a profit. Mobile baling may not be our biggest profit centre, but it does allow us to deliver against our objectives. Now, how did it start? As I said, the floods from 2011, a fair bit of water flowed down. It made its way into the Dumaresque River, which is the border of Queensland and New South Wales. As you can probably see, there's an individual up there with a chainsaw cutting down some branches. The water went up pretty high. So what happened was there is a lot of stockpile trickle tape or agricultural plastics along riverbeds along the river. Farmers were stockpiling for different reasons at the time in 2011. They could be to potentially take it to a transfer station or a landfill, potentially burn it or potentially bury it. So they weren't too sure what they were doing with it back then. They're a little clearer now, thankfully. So a lot of it was washed down the river systems, and we were asked by the Goondiwindi Regional Council to assist with the collection of these plastics caught up in trees down the river system, causing a bit of a nuisance, obviously. At the time, we were asked to somehow come up with a solution to collect it. We got a whole bunch of people together and organised for a small baler to come to site. We wanted the baler on site so that we could compact the plastic, make the transport costs a little bit more efficient, and we had a big clean-up job ahead of us. That's the Dumaresque River. You can probably see a few bits of tape hanging out there. It's an after shot. It took us 6 months to do this thing, and I think we fished just about every fish out of that river in the downtime as well. So big clumps of tape up, 10, 15 metres above that existing waterline. We had a couple of challenges along the way, as you can imagine. As you can see, the trickle tape that was the main product that we were pulling out of the trees, and obviously still scattered everywhere in the paddocks, looked a lot like snakes. Of course, whenever we found a real one, the tape would move on its own. We sort of moved pretty quickly. Since 2011, we've handled, and correctly or incorrectly, a number of snakes since we've been doing this. But it was a challenge that we had to get around, I guess. A few of them made it, a few of them didn't. That was the accumulation. That photo there is the accumulation of all of the rubbish that we've managed to push together, get from trees. In total, it was about 250, 260 tonnes of plastics within a region. As I said, it took 6 months, slowly. We didn't sort of necessarily do it every day, but it was an intricate process to pull out whatever commodities we could. As you can see, there's some blue plastic there. It's called lay flat, which ultimately feeds this particular tape. I'm not sure if you're familiar with the tape, but it either sits just under the surface of the ground or just above it. It's almost like it's similar to a soaker hose, but with much, much, much smaller holes. I understand, increases yield by 30% and reduces water usage by 30% for all the growers. So growers that grow pumpkins, melons, onions, capsicums, beans, those sorts of, and they're obviously all, not obviously, but they situate themselves very close to river systems to get access to water. So a lot of this product, and it's used yearly, it's not something that sits in there for years and years and years. It's changed over every year. So they pull it out of the ground after they've harvested their crops, and they stockpile it in certain areas. So the idea was, how do we stop this from happening again? So we had to come up with some ideas on, well, number one, we've got to fix this problem, and how we did that. As I said, we brought a baler on site, and we turned that absolute mess with all the, as we call it, contamination, into a much cleaner product, baled it up, put it on trucks, sent it off to market, and found that this particular product, the trickle tape, is an MDPE, medium density polyethylene. It has a market price out there, and quite eagerly sought after. So we realised that if we can obviously make a business of this, let's do what we can. So, following the success of that particular project, we decided to improve the size and the compaction rates for the plastic. So we invested in a big 16-tonne baler. We can put those coils, as you see at the front there, put that into a baler and make 6 to 700 kilo bales. We decided that one of the best options was to put it onto a trailer so that we could move it from site to site with ease. And that's basically the business model as it sits today. I'll just catch up. So far, more than 10,000 tonnes of agricultural plastics has been recycled through this since post-floods. We have agreement with a number of Queensland regional councils to get their assistance. Gavin here from Bundaberg Regional Council was one of the very early ones that assisted us to allow the growers in the region to get the ag plastics off their property, stockpile it at a transfer station, and then we provided a guarantee to those regional councils that we'd be there within 12 months and at a regular service period of 12 months or less to come and collect the plastics, bale it on site, get it off the property, get it away from potential other disaster events, and obviously washing them down river systems and the like. And of course, giving the farmers an option not to burn it, not to bury it, and not to do whatever else they wanted to do, or even for it just to go to landfill. So for us, the mobile baler provides a lot of better outcomes. It's protecting it obviously against future disasters, and obviously options to the farmers. So in the past 7 years, I have travelled the countryside, at least the east coast, extensively, talking to growers, providing them or letting them know that there is an option out there. A lot of them still don't know that there is an option to recycle that plastic. They don't know that the plastic is recyclable. Some of them aren't too fussed. And there are a number of different types of plastics out there. So the solution, which was ultimately stage one, looks a little bit like this. We've got a 63-foot trailer. It's an extendable trailer. At the front there, we've got a 100 kVA generator, which obviously runs everything for us. We've got the baler and a telehandler, and the telehandler picks up all of these stockpiles of tape, load it into the baler, create the bales. We load them onto semi-trailers, B-doubles and the like on site. One of the benefits of doing it on site is you don't have the cross-contamination from different farms, which is a big issue for a lot of farmers. So we can wash down the truck on one farm before it goes off to the next one. And the area that this particular baler covers is now, well, from the Cookshire up in North Queensland all the way down the east coast to the border of South Australia and Victoria. So all of those growing regions we've serviced over the last 7 years. One of the big problems we've noticed is that a lot of these growers that use different forms of plastic, some of them are very highly contaminated, some of them aren't. So the forms include irrigation tape. You've got fertiliser drums, which is the Drum Muster program, as some of you may be aware of. A lot of transfer stations today accept HDPE crates, which are the coloured crates that look like a bread crate, I guess. Some of them for bread, some of them for they cart chickens. We've also got a drip line, which is a product that lasts a lot longer than the trickle tape, and a lot of nut growers, so walnuts, almonds, grape growers, they use this drip line and change that every 4 or 5 years. They use a lot of it. They measure their quantities in metres, and one of the average guys that we serviced recently changed over 2.5 million metres of drip lines, and he didn't know what to do with it. So we said, thank you, we'll take it. So with all the different types of plastic and the different levels of contamination, we decided that we would engage the assistance of the New South Wales Government Waste Less, Recycle More program, and fortunately we got some funding to assist with the design and the engineering around a second baler to clean up a lot of the contamination that's held within these plastics, so that recyclers had an easier job, or plastics recyclers had an easier job to process it and obviously turn it into something a little bit more viable. So what we came up with, as Marcel mentioned earlier, I come from the company that's now merged with Re.Group called RDT, Recycling Design and Technologies. We're a design engineering company. We merged with Re.Group about 2 years ago, and our engineers, given that we got some extra cash from the New South Wales Government, thank you very much, designed a solution to clean up some of these plastics. So I'll step you through it if I can. Go to the bottom right of the image. Those black coils you see on the static conveyor there, that's just an image of a coil of plastic. We designed a guillotine. That guillotine is designed to cut the coil in half, travels up the conveyor into a trommel. In this particular case, it's a 6-metre trommel. It's got 50mm holes. It spins around, basically removing a lot of the organic material, whether that be existing plant material or soil. One of the limitations, I guess, that plastic recyclers out there need to know is that the contamination rate within it is less than 20%. I've got an image coming up shortly that will show there's a little bit more than that with some of these coils of plastic that we deal with. So once the plastic makes its way to the end of the trommel, conveyor feeds it into the baler. We've got a person on QC pulling out any larger bits that remain, larger bits of contamination, and that contamination is mainly, as I said, soil. And then it goes into the baler, create the bales, get them off, put them onto a truck, and off to market they go. So that this system is being commissioned as we speak. It should be on the road to a massive grower in Griffith on Monday. So that's how close we are. So this is an image of some of the coils of plastic that some growers, and these are pumpkin growers, pull up when they pull this plastic out of the ground. So with that is obviously soil, but then there's also the plant material itself. We need to reduce that. That would be roughly 60% of the weight would be contamination. We need to reduce that so that plastics recyclers will buy the product from us because it has a market price. So I've got a couple of images. I've got a small video I can show you in a moment. But to give you an idea of that graphic that was up, so this is the guillotine. This is during the commissioning process. This isn't hooked up to exactly the way it will be. Important thing to note, which I haven't said, that this is actually a mobile process. So we've got another baler on a trailer, a 63-foot trailer again, and the trommel and the conveyors and everything else fold up, designed specifically to fit onto a trailer, and we take them onto the property, onto the grower's farm. So the guillotine, quite strong, I think it'll cut through anything and everything, is specifically designed for this mulch plastic, which is a much wider surface area. It's got a greater surface area, the capacity to hold a lot more contamination within it. It cuts that coil in half, and then that's fed into the baler and liberated of the majority of its contamination. I've got a short video here. It's got no audio to it, so I can just talk you through it, but it doesn't go very long. What do I do now? There we go. It's just showing the guillotine in action. The coil obviously gets cut in half. We've got a little bit of assistance through some hydraulics within it you'll see that material is just quite simply disgusting. Inside it there's a lot of soil. You'll see that pop open in a minute. And then what will happen is it simply flips over. That'll feed onto the infeed to the conveyor, and into the trommel it goes. So, sustainable management of, that's why we keep going, sustainable management of the material society, discards, provides a better social, environmental and economic value. We're enabling people in rural communities to do the right thing while ensuring the recycled materials they use are returned to the productive environment. This all relates, as I started, with regards to disaster process. It's mitigating the issues down the track, certainly in Queensland and obviously around the rest of the country. But we get a lot of water that comes out of the sky in Queensland. It raises rivers. A lot of these guys are storing their plastics on the side, so we're giving them options to get it away from their farms, put it on at transfer stations around the country. I'm speaking with a number of councils in New South Wales, a number of councils in Victoria. They don't charge them anything for the clean product to store it on there, and then we organise to go back in and bale it all up for them. So thanks for your time and thanks for being here. It's the end of the conference, isn't it? Yay!